Welcome everybody to Eye of the Serpent Tarot for another pick a card reading. So today's reading we're going to take a visit to the Oracle of Delphi. I've done a similar pick a card on this sort of theme some time ago when I first got the tarot deck that I'll be using for this, which is the Pythia Tarot, which is based on the Oracle of Delphi and in fact has a couple of representations of her in the deck. So I found it really fun and enlightening to do the last one. So I thought this is the sort of topic, because it's so broad and could go in any number of directions, it was worth taking a visit to her again. So that's what we're doing today. And we're going to be asking her for her potentially a little bit sort of cryptic or elliptical, as it often was with the Oracle of Delphi, fortune information that she wants to talk to you about, what you can influence, and also what is on sort of a bigger macroeconomic, macro-political, or at least things that involve a lot of other people potentially in your life where you can only have the influence that you can have and the rest is you're going to have to adjust to. So it's looking at both those aspects of our fortune and what we can choose and change and what we need to be aware of and be a bit like water and move around if necessary. So that's the purpose of the reading today. I'm just going to say up front that there's window cleaning going on outside this apartment at the moment. So if you hear strange sort of bumps occasionally, that's what that is. If it gets really noisy, I'll pause and come back to a reading when it's quieter. But for now, I think it's pretty low level and hopefully you're not even hearing it. So to help with the choice of the reading and to get a bit of a theme about what might be the sort of thing that she wants to talk to you about in very broad terms, I have a choice of cards here. So this energy will be part of the reading, but it's more like a setting an overarching theme or a kind of a lens through which to look at it. So for pile number 1, we have tea leaves, which is about foresight. So this could be around what do you need to know so that you can plan ahead, what piece of information and so forth. It may well be that in this reading, the what can't you influence directly aspect is really important so that you can best nuance what you can. So this is maybe for my people who are looking for some sort of almost predictive energy. Just looking at that, because I shuffled and asked Spirit for what are the 3 kind of key lenses for these readings. So that's pile number 1. Pile number 2 has tarot. So this could be the tarot readers that come to my channel, but otherwise this is around guidance, looking for guidance in general about one or more matters in your life. And the third one is pendulum, which is around decision. So it may be if you are trying to make a decision on something, this is information that will help you make that decision. So you can, of course, go to more than one reading if you want. The Oracle of Delphi may have information for you on all of them. In a weird way, there in fact could be a natural progression between these 3. If you have foresight, you then get the guidance on it and then you make your decision. So it's completely up to you. This is what Spirit wanted for the reading, so we go with what Spirit wants. But when you know what reading or readings you want to go to, the timestamps are in the description box below as always, and I'll see you there. Welcome, pile 1, to your reading. So you've come to the reading that had tea leaves as foresight. And as I say, I think that means that there's something that you would be seeking from the Oracle to understand something, to have an early distant warning of something, or to see the variables that are coming up. The other thing that I get from this card, just energetically looking at it, with the fact that it's tea leaves that's used for this kind of sense of what's coming up in the future, is it's 2 things. One is a sense of kind of friendship, connection, family, love, the sense of like sharing tea, even Japanese tea ceremonies, and sort of concept of sort of the calm and clear sort of energy around getting this message and maybe sharing this message. There's definitely sort of a feeling of sharing with this particular image. The other thing is the fact that tea leaves operate on images. So I feel that the people who've come to this reading may have a gift for clairvoyance. Certainly for the visuals, visual symbols and things like that are important. And we will be talking about signs later on that will help you know that you're on the right track. So I feel that a visual emphasis on that and colour and things like that are important. But yeah, very symbolic. I think that you may be somebody who very much attunes to symbolism, and symbolism may be a place to find extra information, but it feels visual and it feels shared in some way. So what we're going to do, we're going to jump straight into visiting the Oracle. So we're going straight into the tarot. And the first thing we're going to ask is, what fortune areas in focus would the Delphi Oracle say to you that you needed to focus on at this point to get whatever foresight you're looking for? So we have the 4 of Swords, The Four of Cups, okay. The Wheel of Fortune reversed. The Three of Wands. The Queen of Swords reversed. Okay. So I think there's a reason you need foresight, and it's interesting that this sense of sharing and togetherness is important here, because I feel like one of the things the Oracle is going to say to you is that you've withdrawn emotionally, and maybe even from the battlefield in a way, maybe even from an argument or something like that, because there's a very critical energy around you. I feel like there's someone around you, whether it's a friend, a lover, a family member, could well be a family member because there's a family feeling about that card, but it doesn't have to be. But there's someone, a workplace person, a boss, there's someone who's very critical, and you want to start on something new, but it's almost like they're telling you all the reasons why something can't work. So they're telling you before you even start that this is a failed mission, that whatever it is that you want to do, whether it's a career move, whether it's sort of a love that you want to pursue, whatever it is, even if it's just developing yourself in some way, they're telling you right from the outset, no. And it's sort of making you feel stuck. You feel like you have to withdraw, you can't argue. In fact, it would be very hard to argue up front with this person. They're probably very smart. They may well be sort of like in some sort of role or position that feels like it's ahead of you. So in a family, it may well be a parent or an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent or something like that, someone who's sort of like older, so theoretically is wiser. If it's a friend that has always been a bit intellectually dominant in some way, I would say. And if it's in a workplace, they either are there an authority on something or they're in a position of power. So their critique matters. It could even be if you were creative and you wanted to share your creativity and your creative vision, that they're like a gatekeeper, like an editor in a publishing house or a person in a production company who's looking at scripts, to greenlight to make into a movie, things like that. There's something, this person, the Oracle is saying this person does have some critical ability, but she's saying that your vision is still right. She's saying that the foresight is to know this is coming so that you can prepare for it, to understand almost the rules of what this is. So to give you an example, if this was something like a publishing house or an editor, if you are looking to go to something like that, understanding how your vision fits in with the preferences of that particular editor, what's happening in that particular publishing house, what sort of things do they want. It's how to have the foresight to know where the critique might come from so that you don't cruel your own chance. Because the thing about the Wheel of Fortune, and I'm sure that the Oracle of Delphi would be the first person to say this, is that fortune can go either way, and I think this is something that you can very much influence. If you don't withdraw and you don't feel like you're stuck, you actually stay true to your vision, but you think about what can happen, you can turn that wheel around. I always feel with the Wheel of Fortune that in a way, even if it's upright, it slightly tilts towards good fortune coming in, but it's always going around. So, you can rise and then you can fall. Equally, if you have felt stuck in this sort of situation, the next way is up, but it's preparing for that. So I think your foresight, there's something that you have been drawn to here where there is something that you want to take forward. There's something, as I say, and it could be a love as well too. It's kind of, are you going to be on the same page, or is it someone who's going to be very critical, or is there someone around you, a friend who tells you, no, that person's not who you want, or no, you'd never get that person, so you withdraw. This is not a good energy. I think that it doesn't necessarily mean the person is awful, but they're very critical. And it's very my way or the highway with this sort of person. So, and it's like they could influence you. But if you have the foresight, because their power is knowledge. Their power is, they can really spin a story. They can really sort of talk about facts. They're very intellectual. They're very quick. But that is used to sort of limit other people, whether they're aware they're doing it or not. So, but you can prepare, you can turn this around. This is why you need the foresight. This is classically, if you knew that you were going to do something like that, you were going to, if you were a lawyer and you were going into battle with a famed other lawyer who is a bit sort of scary and their reputation precedes them, you might have gone to the Oracle of Delphi to get some insight and foresight about how to deal with that. But she is saying your creative vision is actually the key to this. It's just understanding almost the language of this person. So it's quite specific, I think. It's like it's it's dealing with critique and it's rising above critique. So what I want to do before looking at what you can influence and then what is kind of outside of your influence that you need to be aware of is I want to use the revolving time oracle to get some other information on advice on things to either do or not do and the timing around it in relation to this. So we're just going to get 2 cards from the revolving oracle. So firstly, we have completion. Okay, don't get too attached to time. This is actually very positive because that's the World card and it's saying yes. It's saying yes to what you're doing and that you can complete this journey. It is possible to do regardless of whatever this energy says, but this energy is such that it may impact time. And the interesting thing is Earth, concentrate on the practicalities. There's something practical. So that's why I think I got drawn to the idea of something like an editor in a publishing house. And it doesn't have to be this, but this is a indication that there is almost like a practical business sort of side to this, or this person is very practical, very intellectual, very practical, but it's definitely saying you can complete. It's just don't think time is an issue. You may have to iterate a little bit. And inner child. Okay. This is saying this is what's affecting you. This may be, many of you, this might be family or sort of broader family energy, or it's something that you've had to deal with from family. You may have had a very critical parent, a very difficult sort of way of dealing with that kind of energy and so forth. So there's definitely a sense here of getting into your own vision and understanding and preparing. It may even be, that you had been through something like this with parents before, so it's a pattern that you can understand. Sometimes foresight is entirely an understanding of the past. When I remember listening to a high magician talking about the prophets are actually people who understand the past rather than people who necessarily see the future as such. So the Delphi oracle was like that. They would have understood the patterns of the past. So there's something in your past here. And it's also saying that you can complete this cycle. So that's very positive. So I think overall, the Delphi oracle is saying, have faith in what you're doing. That's the important message that you're getting, but don't underestimate that there is potentially some limitation that you have to be aware of and plan around. So given that, let's get into the next part of it, which is looking at what you can influence. Because I actually think the oracle thinks you can influence quite a lot. And I think the oracle sees you as a bit similar to her. I think you have the foresight and you've had it since you were a child. And I think really digging into that and seeing that is important. So, and in fact, it's sometimes the case, to be honest, this has a bit of a dynamic of the child that's the truth teller in the family that kind of gets pushed into the shadows because of it. So this is not just having success in whatever it is that your vision is now. I think it's also you reclaiming your inner child, reclaiming your vision and your capacity to see what is really going on. So let's see what she thinks you can influence directly on this situation. 9 of Cups, 8 of Pentacles reversed, the Hierophant, the Oracle. Okay, so that's her turning up. So she's a bit frustrated for you. She really wants this to work. And the Ace of Wands reversed. Okay, so there's 2 versions of the Oracle that comes up here. One is a bit frustrated, she looks there, and the other is much more calm. So I think she feels very much for you in this. She very much wants you to break through this energy, as I say, because it's not good. I mean, for some of you, it's literally a little bit malefic. Like, I mean, I don't mean like evil, but I mean like not well meant. But for others, it's just somebody who isn't very self-aware, but is very bossy and intellectually dominating. It's that kind of energy, or as I say, as a gatekeeper, and they've kind of conflated their taste with merit and things like that. So she's very frustrated. So she really wants you to kind of, really hear this message and take it on. She doesn't want this to happen to you anymore. She's saying what you can influence. Firstly, you can get back to your dream. You can have your dream. She wants you to know that's possible. That's absolutely possible. But you have to unlearn some things. It's very interesting. It's almost as though what this is saying is that whatever this is, say again, for argument's sake, it was something like, say it was you're going for some sort of qualification and you've got a very difficult person who's going to be grading your work or something like that. It's almost like you have to unlearn some of the theory and practice that you've been learning so that you can really get where this person is coming from and find the way through to navigate for your vision. And or there could be a sort of situation where you need to say, I'm going to play the game with the foresight of understanding this, knowing that and that may be against what would have been your sort of ethics, quote unquote, to start with, but it's so that I can get through this, so I can actually stay true to what I'm doing. Most of you are dealing with some sort of authority, I think, with the Hierophant coming up. So I doubt this is about love. If it is about love, then there's a whole bunch of things around, is this the person that your family would have thought you should be with, or your friends thought you should be with, like, is there a clash of cultures, all of that kind of thing. But I think for most, this is about dealing with somebody in authority. It's been coming up over and over. And you have the capacity to heal yourself, because the Hierophant here is Chiron, the wounded healer, and come out on top. But it's somehow balancing the unorthodox with the orthodox. And she does want you to win. And she says, don't suppress your creativity. Like, that's what you're doing at the moment. What is happening out of this is that your vision, your creativity is being suppressed. So she says you can influence that by not letting that happen, by having a bit of righteous indignation, because it's fair to have it. Whatever's going on is not a fair thing, and it's not even merit-based, as I say. But it's the system that you're dealing with, and this is finding the way to navigate the system, because she's saying you can have your dream. So let's see again what the Revolving Time Oracle has to say about any other advice about things to do or not do to help you in what you're influencing around this. Knight, okay. I'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to see what the other card is. Curiosity. So again, it's saying yes. I mean, I think she's very much saying yes, you are meant to go forward. But this is the Page of Swords. This is all about how you communicate, and that's dealing with the Queen of Swords reversed too. It's coming with that energy. It's coming with that energy in a kind of deferential way, in as much as it's a page to a queen, but it's being curious. Like, one of the ways to deal with this sort of energy, I think, is to be curious about what they want, and to be open-minded to that, because you're going to be able to ultimately stay true to what you want. But it's sort of like, don't approach them in a battle, don't go head on, be more curious to understand where they're coming from, and that will help you. It aligns you in a way so that you can get past the gatekeeper and so forth. It could be saying that winter season for you is going to be key to when you can move this forward. But otherwise, I think it's really just saying that energy. And I think the Knight is like, you need to hide a little bit of what you are really doing. Like, I'm not saying be unethical, but I am saying that you need to kind of play a bit of a game. You need to keep some of your energy and some of what you're doing a bit hidden. For some of you, literally too, if this is something academic, you might be sort of someone who like works at night really well. But there's something, I think, here just about keeping things a little bit hidden and being curious, like putting the focus on the system or the people in the system and what they want, rather than showing too much of what you want. This is how you influence. This is how you can actually find your way through. So then let's have a look. Let's ask what you can't influence. So this is things either about this person that you can't shift, or it could be things about the system that you can't shift, or it could be bigger sort of macro political or social or spiritual energies or whatever that you just need to be aware of, because we all have that. We're all mixing with other people and within systems, and there's some things that we can directly influence and other things we have to adapt around. So what would the Oracle have to say about that for you? We have the Four of Pentacles, the Hermit, the Seven of Wands, the Two of Pentacles reversed, and the Six of Swords reversed. So the good thing firstly here is, like, the only major arcana we have in something that is external, that you can't, is the Hermit. So that is suggesting that there's some spiritual aspects to this, or even some sort of like the getting of wisdom and time. And this has Kronos, so this is the god of time, amongst other things. It connects to Saturn. So it may be you can't impact the timing. It is saying right up here that you are going to be able to complete it, but it said at the beginning the time is out of your control. And I think some of the broader spiritual things or or kind of the revolutions of the wheel that are outside of you and outside of this situation you can't influence. So the way to look at it is kind of philosophically. The other thing too is I've got to say with this energy, and this is why this tarot is really interesting, because it has different mythological figures as well, and I think that's important here because this is the milieu in which the Oracle of Delphi operated. Cronos had a very interesting story. Cronos was the father of Zeus, and he had a prophecy that he would be overtaken by one of his children. So being the despot that he was, he decided that he would just, eat his children. And so he did this for a while until his wife decided when Zeus was born that she wanted to save Zeus. So she wrapped up a stone in swaddling clothes and gave it to Cronos, and he swallowed that thinking that he'd swallowed the latest child, and Zeus eventually grew up to fulfill the prophecy. So there is something in this energy, I think, where you're dealing with someone who has a position of power, authority, or who wants that in some way. I mean, even if it's like within a friendship group and one person just has to be the smartest person in the room or has to be dominant, there's something like that going on, and you can't change that. But what you can do, the whole story was about being clever and being a bit hidden to find your way through it. You can't change the fact that there's a competition operating with this person. There just is. You can't change the fact that they have already set a foundation. So there's something about it that's a little bit ahead of you. It doesn't mean that they're better than you. It just means that they have some form of position where they have some authority and they are going to compete with you in some way. So you can't change that. But what you can be aware of is that they aren't as clear on their direction or their choices as they might appear. Like a lot of this comes from the fear like a Cronos figure had. So you can't, one thing it is definitely saying is do not ultimately just do what this person says because you start to believe they know what they're doing, because they don't really. There's something shifting and changing in their world, and it may be why they're particularly difficult to deal with. But that's outside both of your control. So it's like if you have to do something to get through, to get a qualification, to get a book published, to do whatever this might be, to just deal with and have some peace around your friendship circle, your family circle, whatever it might be, then it's more about being curious, open, and moving through it. It's not about adhering to what they do, because in a sense that's a way of avoiding the competition, because you are meant to complete and do and take out what you do, and they're not as sure as they appear. So let's just see again with the revolving time oracle what else the oracle wants to say about what you can't directly influence. The High Priestess. Time is hidden. That's interesting, the High Priestess coming with the Hermit. I'll talk about it in a minute, but I find that interesting. There's something spiritual about this. Whether it's overt, I'm not sure, but there is something spiritual about it. And compassion, time to go with the flow. So what this is telling me, it's very interesting because this is the Queen of Cups. So you're highly spiritual and highly psychic. As I said, I feel like the oracle would recognize in you a similar sort of energy, a similar sort of ability. So you have that. So she is saying that, yes, there are certain things that are outside of your control. There are a lot that is within your control, but there's certain things that are going to be outside of your control. That's just life, But you can use your intuition, yes, and you can use your compassion. There is a compassion here. I feel like this person is full of fear and full of sort of like, they're so confused that they play this out. It's like you can understand it and be compassionate with it and be curious about it. And even see maybe that this person came from similar scarring when they're inner child as well as you. So using your intuition to understand this, to see that there is a certain battle that is inevitable, but there is a way of dealing with it that is smarter than this person. This person thinks they're very smart, but it's smarter than this person. But being compassionate is important, to not become the thing and to not just give in and become. You need to see that this person really doesn't have the sense of the direction that they are claiming to have. So that's important as an energy as well. Okay, so this is a bit of a complex situation. It's calling on you to be very dexterous. It's obvious why you needed the foresight. So let's get you some support. We're going to get some divine feminine support, some angelic support, and a power animal for you as well too. So firstly, divine feminine energy, which would align very much with you with the High Priestess. And do notice this, yes. she's saying you can do what you want to do. You do not doubt that. That's probably the strongest message that she's brought through. So the divine feminine support for you is, first of all, Xenu, star family, soulmate, star seed. Okay, so she actually suffered for being having a soulmate and dealing with a family, star family, that did not agree with all of that. So as I say, for some of you, this is about family, and for some of you, it could be about love, but it's a very different love. It's a very different or unconventional thing. Otherwise, this is part of your mission. There is a kind of a mission behind what you do. That's why you've come in with these sort of abilities. So this is to understand her story, as I say, is a little bit tragic. So, but she's very compassionate. And you see even the colouring is similar between those cards, and very much the crown chakra. So that's a connection for you to understand the implications and consequences of things, which is very important when you've got the Wheel of Fortune reversed there. And Bastet, boundary, psychic protection, intuition, pleasure. It's also play and enjoying things. This is the curiosity energy. And again, we've got very much this purple energy. You're very connected to the crown chakra, to the divine realms. Absolutely. That's why the oracle thinks you're similar. But she's saying that this is the key. Curiosity. It is important to have boundaries, definitely, and you do have psychic protection. Listening to your intuition is going to be very important, but Bastet is also about play. I think this is the curious energy. It's like, this is not a battle to take head on. It's more like you become interested in what this person has to say and understanding it, and that kind of like takes some of the pressure off them. It makes it less of a competition than it was, but it also gives you the information you need to be able to work out how to navigate it and how to get what you need without compromising what you want to do going forward. So let's also have a look at angelic support for you. Angelic, or sort of other kind of celestial realm support. Archangel Azrael, death and rebirth, life changes, transitions. Something is completing, changing. This is a rite of passage. So I feel like it's a qualification, it's getting a book published, it's moving up the ladder in work, or a love that is very significant and very karmic. So Azrael is here to help you with that and help you go through that change and to give you that very strong spiritual connection to what you're doing. This is why it's yes, 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 yes all the way through it. It's like, move forward. This is what you're meant to be doing. And Melchizedek. Oh, wow. Yeah, you definitely are very, very powerful spiritually. So spiritual development again, the law of attraction, bringing in what you want, manifesting what you want. You can do it. Yes, 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 yes. Study. Some of you, this is about study or qualifications in some way. Definitely. It could even be a competitor, for the top result or something, but you're ahead of them, but you just need to understand. I think, though, for most, it's more like a gatekeeper. But these are pretty heavy hitters to give you the right sort of direction. So don't doubt. I think that's the big message that the Oracle has for you. So let's also get you a power animal. Links, secrets. This is the Knight. I do think you're going to have some judicious secrets in this. I think that this is an environment, a culture, a institution, whatever it is, and this person has power, as I say, that you can't show your whole hand, and you've got to focus. You've got to get the focus more on the system and what the system wants and understanding that. But I think this is just saying that it's okay. It literally is like getting the qualification, so then you can actually really explore what you want. Like, it gives me a very strong feeling of like when you're an undergraduate at university, you've got to kind of, if you want to get good marks, you've got to kind of regurgitate back what your lecturers believe. After that, when you're doing higher level qualifications, you then have a little bit more autonomy. But even with that, you usually have a supervisor or whatever. So there's something, it feels like that. It doesn't have to be academia. That's just an example. But there's something where you're going to have to keep a lot to yourself. Get curious, focus it out on the system, understand the system, and then you can get what you want. And as I say, you've got some pretty strong energies here. But this is reminding you there are consequences if you aren't careful about how you play this, because you can't avoid the competition or the gatekeeper energy. You've got to work out a way through it. Okay, so let's see. I said at the beginning that we're going to look at some signs. So let's see some signs that you'll see when you're really getting this breakthrough, and maybe that you're getting close to the completion of this particular dance. It feels like a dance with somebody. So remember also, I'm very interested in the visual and symbolic energy from these things, whatever we get. So loved ones in spirit. Yeah, you've definitely got this ability. I think, if you see that in your mind's eye, if you see people, ancestors and so forth, that definitely is coming through. Otherwise, it's suggesting that you have mediumship abilities, and there's something about that. But again, I think you might particularly pick up energies on that sort of level, on a visual or symbolic level, rather than necessarily, like, doesn't mean you couldn't be clairaudient and have other clear senses, but I feel like the one that's going to matter with all of this is more visual. There's something about visuals and symbols for you. But it is interesting, that family sense as well too. You may have a very strong, passed on spirit guide that you're aware of, or that you can feel around you. And angel, yeah, well, you've got angels around you, visions of angels, the sort of energy of angels. And also I just feel like it's saying you're on the side of the angels, but you're in a dense sort of material 3D type of situation with someone who's very much in their head, and you're kind of more in your soul. So, but the angels are with you, and you may see angelic things. You may see angel wings. Pay attention to that sort of thing. You see somebody wearing jewelry with that, they might be important in some way. Those sort of things, because it feels very visual for you. Okay, so let's have a look at some astrology and numerology energy to also help you. Waning crescent moon. So the waning crescent moon turns up when you have to let go of something. So I think, and get back to first principles, I feel like she is saying this is not a battle that head on you can win. So if you go into this like a bull at a gate and it just has to be your way, then you're not going to win. But if you understand the other thing and you manage around it and let go of that which is not part of the first principles, that's the way you're going to find your way through. And it's not being unethical and it's not being dishonest. It's understanding what you're dealing with. Then we have earth. Yeah, be practical, be grounded. A lot of your energy comes from the ether, comes from the sort of higher realm. So you do need to ground this. You do need to understand that you are in a system. And moon, yeah. And get the emotional sort of side around that, sort of understand that. And, you are psychic. It's coming up over and over and over. But it's like ground your emotions. Some of you may have moon in an earth sign. It may be easier for you to follow this advice of the oracle if you do. But in any case, there's understanding that. And also maybe understanding this person, there's an emotional thing that they have about feeling secure, because they're not really feeling secure. So understanding that would be helpful. Also want to draw a couple of cards from the Ethereal Orbs deck, which has both fixed stars and also areas of the mansions of the moon, and that would be particularly for you for some other astrological advice for you as well. So we have Arexi, harvest and culmination. Yeah, completion. Keep faith in the journey, for one day you will look back just to realize how content you are. So yes, you can have your dream. Like she wants you to know it's very, very possible. And Sirius. Oh, Sirius. There's starseed sort of energy. I think you have starseed energy. Intention and direction. Offer me direction and exhibit my intention. My head is full of dreams and my existence is a fantasy. So this is saying that, like, at the moment you may feel like, how can I make this? It's all a dream, but you can actually do it. It's about grounding it. And I think particularly calling on Xenu there, I think would be helpful about grounding your energy, whereas I think Bastet helps you in navigating the complex environment. Okay, so just to finish off, we want to look at what personal magic you have that can empower you to use the advice of the Oracle of Delphi today. So we have move. Okay, I think that's got a number of levels. Like it could literally be move, get around, like physically sort of like get that sort of sense of flexibility and movement that will then help you to do that more generally. I also think it's showing that you need to be flexible with this. There's no other way through than being flexible. Might also be that some of you need to move, like move home or something like that for some reason. And focus, yeah. Be flexible, but focus on first principles again. Because it's like, that's all that really needs to get through this. Whatever this is, the first principles and the real dream to bring the dream about can happen, but you have to be flexible on the way through. It does, I kind of get a visual of sort of someone almost dancing, like people doing, I don't know what they call that, when you limbo dancing, when you're kind of like going under the ever lowering sort of thing to actually dance your way through. There's a feeling like that about this. This is a dance you're doing. You are more than capable of doing it, pile one. But you need to sort of understand that's what's necessary. If that's the case, you can make your dream come true. You can manifest. There's no doubt about it. So I hope that resonates for you. I hope it was helpful and you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 2, to your reading. So you came to the reading with tarot for guidance. So as I said, this is sort of a lens to look through. So it could very well be that many of you who've come to this, either read tarot cards or are very much drawn to tarot cards, which would make sense if you come to pick a card readings like these. But I also feel from this, there's a couple of things that come across to me. One is that I feel you're going on a new journey. The fact that we've got the sort of symbols here for the aces, though interestingly, I suspect this is a wand, but it almost makes it look like a second sword, because it's near the wand that the Fool uses. It's almost like there's a feeling of almost what is going on with this is particularly around belief structures, because it feels like it's made a double sword in that image to me. Secondly, because it's the Fool, it's the new journey and so forth. So I think there's something in that. The other thing that I think is if you're drawn to tarot is a very strong system for the oracular work because it is psychologically very well structured. In all the suits, from ace to 10, it shows pretty much the way that energy operates with that kind of suit from the beginning of something through to its first level of achievement. And then the court cards show that maturing process as well as obviously people. And the major arcana shows the whole journey of the spirit from almost cradle to grave in a broad sense. So there is a psychological rigor to this form of divination, and I feel like the guidance that you're looking for is for something new and for something that will understand the people. There's an impact on people in some way with this, I feel. So I think there's something in that space in what you would be coming to the oracle about. So we're going to jump straight into that, and we're going to ask first of all, on a high level, what is the fortune that the oracle wants to talk to you about when you come to visit her? 7 of Pentacles, Page of Wands reversed, Knight of Wands, 10 of Wands reversed, Ace of Cups reversed. Now, the thing, again, that I find really interesting about this, and this is just the way this image is done, and it's only just now, in this reading struck me, is this is a wand here, because it's meant to be cups, wands, swords, and pentacles to represent the aces, and then the Fool as the new journey. But it does look like 2 swords. It looks like there's an issue around all of this, around the mind overtaking the creative drive or the ambition. And it's very interesting to see here that we've got, like, right in the core of this is 3 wands cards. So she really wants you to focus on your ambition and your reach and how you do whatever you want to do. It's definitely a sense that there is something you're growing that has a huge potential to become something, an investment in the future. So whether this is something creative, career, could be love. If it's love, you haven't really let it happen yet, and this is because you're suppressing some of the passion. Even if you're going out, it's like you're suppressing some of this, and so some of the promise of the Ace of Cups is still a little bit sort of diminished. So she wants you to look at that, but it's all via Wands energy. And it's interesting the way that this is represented, because with the Page of Wands reversed, what she's saying to you is that you haven't fully clarified what your desire nature or ambition nature or creative nature is, whichever one of those really kind of resonates for you. And that's the work to do. And that's why you come for guidance, so that you can start to think about that. She says that there is a risk at the moment, because you haven't done that you vacillate between 2 things. One is feeling overburdened. So there is a need to kind of clarify that, so that you're not burning the candle at both ends. You're not exhausting yourself. You're not trying to be all things for all people, particularly if there's sort of like a relationship energy around this. It's like if you're not clear what you want, then you're carrying too much of a burden. But on the other hand, you need to think through what you do. So this is where, in a way, if that's 2 swords, it works for you, because Knight of Wands and Knight of Swords, they both kind of like rush into things without thinking. And in this particular deck, Knight of Wands is represented by Icarus. So Icarus is the one who flew too close to the sun. So there's an issue around, I think it's a double message, actually. I think on one hand, it's an issue about don't suppress this stuff, work out what you want, because otherwise you might either not shoot far enough for what you want, you might not go as far as you could, and you kind of let it all go because it's a burden and you haven't worked out why you wanted to do it. Or on the other hand, you might try to go too far before you're ready. So it's a double message in this, because on one hand, it is saying that the issue is all around passion, ambition, in whatever form that is, whether it's affecting love or a creative project or something in a business. But it's also saying that it's important to really use your mind. So my first sort of feeling, are you using your mind too much? I think actually she's saying no. It's like that is actually in a weird way the missing ingredient. But it's the balance between the passion and the mind. It's almost like you've disconnected them, if that makes sense. It's like your mind is very cool and calm and strategic, but it's almost disconnected from what your passion is. On the other hand, if you put the mind to the side, so you follow the passion, you could be like Icarus. So Icarus, if he'd just been a little bit more careful, would have been fine. The wings worked. It's like working that balance out, but you have to know what you want to do. Then you can actually get the outcome. Then you can get the happy reward. So I think her guidance to you is getting those two things in balance, the mind and the thing that you want strategically or philosophically, and your passion in some way. So we're going to use the revolving time oracle each time we sort of ask the tarot, which is a hybrid of tarot and other oracular information and time-oriented information for her advice on anything that you should be doing more of, or that you should not be doing, or timing in general around this. So around this, getting this into balance, because you've got huge potential. She's saying to you, you've got huge potential, but it's at the moment, it's like you're either suppressing the passion a bit too much because you've decided strategically it's too difficult, or you're going to go really at it, like a bull at a gate, and then maybe not be strategic enough and sort of cruel your chances. So she wants you to have this. She believes your fortune should be to make this a growing concern. So firstly, we have breathe. Okay. So I think what happens with you is that if you go into your head, then you kind of go through everything at like enormous detail, and it almost sort of stops the energy of the wands. So it becomes a kind of a straitjacket. So you need to kind of breathe. If we're wearing a straitjacket, it's hard to breathe. It's hard to be free. On the other hand, if you start really pushing it, the burden really sort of becomes an issue, and you maybe start to almost hyperventilate. So this is like, calm down a bit and get those things in balance. You can do what you want to do, and you can have what you really want emotionally out of this. But in fact, your emotions are the poor relation in all of this, because it's like you're vacillating between intellectual restriction and sort of kind of ambitious drive in some way, or passionate drive. So breathe. She says, like, just chill out a bit, pile two. And romance. So for many of you, this could be definitely about love in some way. This is the Knight of Cups. So a romantic offer could be coming to you, and certainly if it is, it's a good one. This is like the Ace of Cups. This looks good, but so if this is coming out about love, this is saying that you've got to get this in a balance and breathe and calm down, because it is a growing concern. Yes, it's a good thing. Allow romance in, but it could also be saying, if you're trying to like mediate between your mind and your ambition, it may be that what you really want emotionally, what's the first principle emotionally, what's the romantic idea that you have, it's the key, because you're going to be able to grow whatever this is, but this is the point, you can grow whatever it is. So if you go too much into the ambition, you grow that with all the issues like Icarus had. If you go too much into the mind, you grow that, losing the heart. But if you go to the heart and allow that energy in, you can get the balance. This is the guidance that she's giving you. This is the guidance that you've come for. Okay, so let's see what's in your control, pile two. So this is of the fortune that she's saying, what can you directly influence? Five of Cups, Two of Cups. Yeah, I think for a lot of you, this is about love. Three of Wands, Four of Swords, Four of Cups. That's interesting. They came out together, but in a different spot for another reading. And I riffle shuffle a lot in between readings, so that's interesting. Some of you may be coming to two readings. So she's definitely saying some of this might have come, you might have been burnt before. And I suppose that could be true of most people when they come to readings, unless you're very young, like particularly when it comes to love or whatever, we normally go through some disappointments before we find the one. I think that she's saying you can learn from those and you can still be open. Like it's definitely saying be open. If this is about love, then it's definitely a big tick to yes, to explore this. But to, as I say, kind of work out what disappointed you before and what would you want this to grow into being. And she's also saying what you do need to do, and this is where your passion is important, is almost make a decision. I feel like always with the Three of Wands, it's like you could have people following you, but you could equally need to be on your own. So I think it's almost you need to have a passion and a drive and a burning within yourself that it's the right person, not just any person. And if you feel that isn't the case, then you can withdraw and recalibrate what you want emotionally. But there is definitely a sense here that you are hiding your heart, you're protecting your heart probably from having either gone too quickly into something and feeling like Icarus falling from the sky, or avoiding something too much because it was sort of like intellectually you came up with all these reasons that it might not work. So this is about you deciding what do you really want, who do you want as a partner to go forward with you, and almost like taking no prisoners. If this isn't this, you don't go forward. If it is this, then you can stop this tendency to withdraw with the mind. So it's the mind withdrawing here. It's actually, again, it's why at the beginning I felt like this is about wands, and it is about wands. It is about passion. You do need to know what you love and what you want to love, and a lot of this is about either a romance or it's about something that you really love, something that has that kind of effect on your life. But it's knowing this part. It's connecting those two. You're connecting your mind and your passion too much, whereas it should be your passion and your heart, because the mind makes you withdraw and the passion makes you run forward. But if you connect those two, that's what you can do. This is what she's saying. So let's get a little bit more advice from the Revolving Time Oracle. Makes sense that you came to tarot, as I say, because this is a very psychological thing. This is understanding your own psychology, and it's understanding how the elements of tarot impact you, how you work through those. So we have day. Yeah, this is, I think when we get day, it's like something needs to be brought to the surface and seen. It's also the sun. It's like you are meant, I do think this is saying that whether it's someone that you've just met and you're wondering whether it could work out, then I think the big answer is yes. Or if you're looking for that, you've been disappointed, can you bring something in? The answer is yes. It is, you can reach the sun, but it's like in understanding things, in bringing light and energy and understanding to it. This is, as I say, why tarot makes sense. It's like understanding the psychology of it. And manifest. Okay. So this says you have a lot of power, because this is the magician. You have the skills, you have the capacity to do this. It's really interesting because, of course, in the magician card, you see the magician has the ace in a sense of all the suits. Again, that is a very strong thing. You are the magician. You can do this. You definitely can. But you maybe have been tilting towards your mind quite a bit, and that's why I felt like this was like two swords. But time is running fast, and this is then the sense of the passion as well. So I think what she's saying is that there are opportunities. It could be someone you've just met. It could be a relationship you're in, you're trying to take to the next level. It could be just to bring love in. Things are moving fast. You have the ability, but you have to bring this stuff to the surface. You have to be honest with yourself about the balance of those things. And you have to breathe a bit. Like, don't feel it so fast that you just go full tilt, because then you're Icarus, basically. It's getting that into balance, but knowing time is of the essence in some way, and whatever this is. So then let's look at what you can't really influence. And so that is, other people to some degree. I mean, sometimes you can influence other people, but they still have their own sovereignty. It can be big macroeconomic issues. It can be social issues. It can be cultural issues. What do you have to be aware of in this that you can't influence? The Chariot. Yeah, the timing. You can't. And if this is about another person and about love, you can't really kind of influence that too much, because the other person, as I say, is sovereign as well. Queen of Pentacles. Two of Pentacles reversed. Nine of Cups reversed. Four of Pentacles reversed. Okay. So this is really interesting, because we have, quite a few sort of pentacles operating here. And this is saying right up here that you can actually, manifest what you want. You are the manifester. You can do that. There may be an issue for you around what you commit to. And you can't really too much influence how quickly you have to make that decision. That choice only is there for a while. And otherwise it dissolves. This feels very much like, actually, the Judgment card to me is a card where, you know, like with a calling or whatever, there's a choice and you have a time clock on it. And if you don't make the choice, it becomes the choice for no, because it effectively, the opportunity disappears. So I feel like whether it's sort of someone, as I say, you've just met, or you're trying to move to the next level, I feel like, or you're just wanting to bring love in, when it happens fast. And I feel like you can't muck around with wondering whether you're going to commit to this, because if you don't, then the other person is looking for that commitment and they will move on. So there is that sort of sense. And if this isn't about love, it's about something you care about, something you want to bring into being, there is an opportunity that comes in that has a lot of potential. You can't control when that comes in. The timing is out of your control, but you have to be ready, because if you don't make that decision quickly, it moves on. It moves on. This is why with 9 of Cups reversed, you can't influence, you can only influence what you want in your heart. You can't really influence the other person. All you can do is respond to the situation when it comes up. So let's see what the Revolving Time Oracle says about that. Self. Okay, this is, you need to know what you want and how you balance all those energies. Like, that's the way to deal with what you can't control, because it prepares you to be able to make the right decision. So this suggests to me, like, if there is sort of like love and you're thinking about it, it suggests there is an opportunity here for a very long-term, wonderful love relationship. And if it's around something creative or something else that's close to your heart, or a business thing that's close to your spirit and your heart, you really can. Like, you being clear has a huge impact on this. And curiosity. Okay, so this is the Page of Swords. How you communicate is going to be important in dealing with this. You need to be quick too. You know, air signs are quick. Once it starts, winter season could be a period of time where this comes into being, but it's saying yes. It's saying yes over and over, which is great. But it's also about that energy of being curious about this rather than feeling rushed by it. Like, this should be sort of enlivening you. Also be curious about yourself and communicate within yourself. This is the only preparation work that she thinks you need. In fact, she's saying all the guidance is within you. All she can do is say to you that you've got these things out of balance. When you get them into balance, you can bring in what you want, very much so, in whatever way this is playing out. Okay, so let's get you some spirit team guide. So we're going to get some divine feminine, some angel or celestial beings, and also a power animal. So firstly, a couple of divine feminine energies to help you with this. Bastet, that's interesting. That came up for another, and it's interesting, curiosity came up, and I felt they very much connected. There is certainly stuff around boundaries. I think there are your own internal boundaries. How do these elements operate within you? Psychic protection means that there is protection around you. Your intuition's on point, but it's also what would you enjoy? It's almost like between an intellectual idea, whether it's about relationships or whatever it is, and a passion that are battling with each other in you, you've forgotten what you actually enjoyed. So getting back to the curiosity about that and having a bit of fun with it, it looks like that's a way to sort of work this through. And Sheila Nagig. Okay, gateway, opening, legacy. She's all about birthing. She's all about bringing new things into being. She's all about fertility and so forth. So I think it's just really saying this is a transitional thing for you to actually bring in the love that you want, if that's what this is about, bring in the passion project or whatever it might be. She helps to birth that energy for you. But you have to go through the gateway, and you have to be prepared to go through the gateway. You know, a child is not born until it is fully formed. You know what I mean? Like, or if it is born prematurely, then it has to be looked after. So, a lot more than a child in other ways. So this is, I think, about being ready, being fully formed in some way. Let's see around the archangels or other celestial beings that are helping you. Oh, this is interesting. This came up for another one too. I think some of you have definitely come to two. Archangel Azrael, death and rebirth. There is something went wrong. Whatever this is, something went wrong for you because, as I say, you're either too passionate and went too far without thinking it through, or you thought it through so much that you stopped yourself from doing it. but you really do have this ability. It's like getting into balance. And I think this is all about you rebirthing yourself and understanding the power that you have and the transitions that you can go through. So Azrael is helping you with that. And Horus, clear seeing, intention and perspective. So this is the mind. Again, like, it's interesting, the curiosity, it fell with the Page of Swords. The mind is key to this, but use it in a way that balances everything rather than kind of like sets everything off against each other. And this certainly will bring you the sort of like the clear seeing, the clear sight, the sort of prophetic ability to be able to see this through. So we'll also get you a power animal. Goat. Reliability. Yeah, because it is about commitment. There's something about commitment at the end of this, about the return on investment, commitment in love, commitment in a passion project, whatever it is, and being reliable. It might be sort of saying, particularly with the sort of breathe, get off your own back a bit too. If you feel like you've got to do everything, this is also with others. Others are important in this. And they are looking for being reliable as well. And it may be a way of also deciding who you should be with as well. Are they reliable? But Goat is here to kind of give it a stability, I think, whatever this is that she's talking to you about. Okay, so let's see what signs you may see that you're on the right track. So, butterflies, lovely. Oh, and that's about transformation too. There is something transformative in this. The weird thing I think about it is, though, is that it's to become more of what you already are, but more in balance, really understanding yourself. This is why you came to the tarot, understanding the patterns of those energies within you help the transformation. But you may literally see butterflies, like literally flying around you, or you may sort of see them on clothing or jewelry or things like that. Pay attention to if you see that as a synchronistic sign. And clouds. Okay, there's a lot in the air. Okay, so this is, I think that you are very much of the intellect. That's why I got that sense up there. And there's nothing wrong with that. I just think it's like having the aha moment of understanding this sort of psychologically so that you can get it into balance. So I think that there's sort of like literally you could see patterns in clouds, all of that sort of thing. You could hear songs about clouds. All of that is there. But it's almost like I feel like I want to say to you, when you're not sure, look up. There's something about looking up. It brings you a clarity. It brings you the sight. It brings you, look up into the day, look up to the sun. I think that is a kind of a guiding point for you that the Oracle wants you to know about. So let's also see, talking about looking up, let's look at the celestial levels. Let's look at astrology and potentially numerology, so in sacred mathematics as well. Venus, this is about love. Whether it's romance or whether it's about what you think is beautiful and what you love, it's definitely about that. That's the core. That's why that ace reversed is important. What does that mean? Descendant, and relationship to others. Most of you, this is about love, I think, like a romantic relationship. But if it's not, and it's about some sort of passion project or something, there is connection with others that is important with this. And 6, and community that's around you, the groups that are around you, the culture that's around you, service to others, all of those sort of things are important. I also want to get you a couple of cards from the Ethereal Orbs deck, which looks at fixed stars and the mansions of the moon from Vedic astrology. So just to see what else through that lens the Oracle wants to say to you. So we have... this is some of you have definitely come to more than one reading, because this came up the last one as well too. Arexi, harvest and culmination. Keep faith in the journey, for one day you will look back just to realize how content you are. You can do it. You can get what you want. You can. You just have to understand your own internal dynamics. And Al-Muqaddam, divine source and love. When two souls encounter and they welcome romance, their hearts are bonded and their fate becomes unbreakable. The commitment. there is, for most of you, this is about love. If you have met someone, I think it's a pretty big tick that as long as when you go through and balance it within yourself, you feel you could commit to them, then they're the one, or someone's coming in. And this is why you have to be ready, because it's important. This is actually a very important love relationship. And as I say, if it's not about love and it's about creativity, then I think there's a very strong connection with somebody, like on a soul level, that's going to help you. So you need to be open for that as well too. So last but not least, we want to ask the Oracle about what magic you have personally that can help you with this message she's given you. Intelligence, okay. Remote viewing, okay. Yeah, you are. You'd be very good at tarot and things like that. You'd be very good at astral travel. There's a sort of sense of being able to scan the environment. And again, the sense of looking upwards, looking outwards. Maybe also look inwards, but like when you close your eyes, it's like the night sky. And then the day, look up into the sky for the signs that way. There's something about that. There's seeing things remotely. That's understanding the implications of things. And you have that ability, pile 2. And higher self, yeah, connect with your higher self. Your higher self knows, and your higher self is in balance. So going back to that and asking your higher self is important. Okay, so pile 2, I think she's saying you can have a great love or a great passion project, whatever it is that you went to her about. You just have to bring these things into balance. That's all you really need to do, because you have to be prepared, because there's going to be a point at which what you want moves very fast and you're going to be asked to commit to it. And if you don't commit to it at that point, it passes away. The opportunity passes away. So I hope that helps you. I hope it was enjoyable and resonates. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings. Welcome, pile 3, to your reading. So you've chosen the reading that has pendulum and decision. And pendulum, of course, is often that yes-no sort of thing. So I think that if that is consciously what brought you here and brought you to the Oracle, then I think there is a kind of yes-no decision that you want to get an answer for. It could be on anything in particular. If you came for other reasons, like you always choose pile 3, or you just intuitively came here, then I think it's still suggesting that there is some core decision that she is going to talk to you about that's important to the next stage of your spiritual journey or your love life or your career. So I think it would be almost a foretelling that a key decision is coming up that is kind of binary. It's yes or no, I would say. Though we will see, there could be nuances in it. I do have a feeling that it could have to do with the heart, because of the fact that this has a heart as the pendulum. But that can manifest in a number of different ways. It could be about love, but it could also be about, a career or a passion project or something like that as well too. Or even the heart of the mystic, connecting spiritually to the divine. So we'll see what she wants to talk about. What we're going to ask her firstly with tarot is what fortune areas in general does she think are important for you to focus on? Then we'll have a look at what she thinks you can influence, and then we'll have a look at the bigger picture, other people elements that you can't directly influence, but you could benefit from being aware of. So firstly, let's just get a little bit of a detail from her about what she thinks. Even if you've gone there, and this is the thing, you could go to the Oracle of Delphi with a decision, and she might say that's actually not the decision. The decision is one step before that or one step after that. So we'll see what she believes is the core thing that you need to be focusing on at the moment for your best fortune. So, Ace of Wands reversed, 3 of Wands reversed, 2 of Pentacles. Yeah, it's definitely a decision. The Oracle. Oh, and it's one that's frustrating you. There's 2 versions of the Oracle in this deck, and one she looks frustrated and one she looks calm. So, and 6 of Swords reversed. Okay. So she's saying you've come to her, and this is, I do think that you would have come because of a decision that you are conscious of with this. Or there's an underlying drumbeat that you're not even conscious of, but it's key. It's a material decision. And she's frustrated for you because it's like you feel stuck. It almost feels like there's a thing that I remember like studying a bit years ago in university when I studied politics. They talked about a thing called a wicked problem. And it's a problem where in some ways, no matter what you do, it's not going to be ideal. And it's usually used around social and political sort of things, in the balance of the different sort of competing interests and so forth. So I feel like there's almost a feeling like a wicked problem around this. It doesn't mean you can't get a decision in this case. It doesn't have to be quite that complex, but I feel like she is saying this is frustrating you, and until you deal with it, until you decide, you're going to be frustrated in what you want. So she might also be saying you've been avoiding a decision. So if you've come here, as I say, for other reasons, and you think, I don't really know what I have to decide about, she's going to say to you, actually, there is a decision. It's about your material life in some way. Could be around business, could be around money, could be around where you live, anything that's material. Could even be around things like health and that kind of thing, what you do, your sort of exercise routine. It's a balancing decision too. You see how this figure's balancing. And I think in this case, because of this deck, there's a kind of almost karmic side to this. This is an important thing. It's an important decision for your kind of next steps. But you are not wanting to kind of really see it. And you feel a bit lost. So she's saying until you make this decision, you're not going to know your next step. And she's saying that you are not wanting to go on the journey, because this looks like going on the journey, and like when you have the Three of Wands, it's usually the person looking out to the world and they're deciding, I'm going to go on this journey even if I'm alone. With the Ace of Wands reverse, it's like you're suppressing whatever the passion is or the vision is to some degree, because the decision looks hard. So I feel almost for some of you with this, it could be a decision that you have to depart from something and you have to go and be on your own in something. So it could be about breaking up from a relationship. It could be about, like setting off in a career thing where you have to move home or move away from people that you're with, or change jobs. Could be a creative energy that you want to do, but you kind of, it's almost a bit scary to go out on the first step because you feel like it's going to be really complex and you're not really sure how to make the decisions. But she's saying you're frustrating yourself by not allowing yourself to almost make the first decision. Because remember, these are all quite early in the suits, and even the Six is not that far along. She's saying you're stopping yourself before, even in the first principles decisions, before you can move forward. So she's wanting you to make a decision, just make a decision, because it doesn't even really matter that much about the decision. It's just that act, because it takes you to the next level. So let's see with the revolving time oracle. This is a kind of hybrid of tarot and other oracular sort of information and time information. So we're using it here for her to show what you could do more or less of, and sort of timing elements that might be important. So around this capacity to make the decision, integrity. So that's the King of Swords. And there, maybe. You're living in your head. And it's interesting because the head doesn't know. The Swords energy is like, doesn't really know how it's navigating. But you're kind of very much trying to make this decision just intellectually. But you don't know that because you haven't made this fundamental decision about what is it that you want to bring into being. What are you passionate about? And the King of Swords can get a little bit rigid sometimes, and it's saying maybe. So this is you. You've got to move this within a matter of weeks. Like, it's like you're just frustrating yourself. This is why she's feeling frustrated. There could also be a decision maker around you with the King of Swords who is going to make a decision if you don't make it yourself. So, and this is very soon. And we have the Star. Again, air. Okay, this is how you use your mind. She's saying, like, it's like you have to have faith in your mind to be able to make the right decision. It's like you're holding yourself under too much rigid control and going maybe, and you're weighing all the options and you're exhausting yourself really and frustrating yourself. She says sometimes we just have to have faith. Yes, go forward. Just make a decision. Aquarius season could be a time that this particularly kicks in. So that, depending upon when you look at that could either be soon or far away. But certainly there's a sense, and this is a little bit sort of detached. Aquarius is a little bit detached. So being able to step back and look at it and sort of see the bigger picture. Like your mind is very strong, pile 3, but it's almost like you've got analysis paralysis. Sometimes, as she's saying, you just have to have faith. Just make a decision. Once you make a decision and move into the next step, that's going to help you make the other decisions. And I understand this energy because it's also true that the decisions we make us. And so I think, there's a little bit of a kind of a reluctance, but it's like sometimes we just have to almost roll the dice, like if nothing else, or get a pendulum and go yes, no, and just do it on that. So let's see what she thinks is within your control, what's in your sphere of influence around this, pile 3. Queen of Swords reversed. King of Pentacles, 5 of Swords reversed, Queen of Wands reversed, Justice reversed. Okay, there could be somebody that you're worried about how they're going to judge you, but you can influence that if you think that's going to happen. A little bit of faith in yourself and a little bit of faith in them. Otherwise, you can influence to make sure that an injustice isn't done. if that's what you're worried about. It could be that this is what's paralyzing you. You may have done something before where you felt you didn't get a just outcome, and so it's sort of almost like you're second guessing yourself all the way. So you can let go of that energy to some degree. It's having an effect on your self-esteem. It's having an effect on what you feel you can achieve. And it's the thing that's, with the Queen of Wands reversed here and the Wands reversed here, it's the thing that's stopping you from making the decision. So let that go. Or in fact, it may even be that you feel like this whole thing is about some sort of like socially just issue. And it might be you have to let go of that paradigm to just make a decision. It might be like, how do I make a decision? What if it isn't just? What if it isn't right? But you can. And in fact, you've got great integrity. So if you're worried about that, don't worry about that. You can start to have more esteem about yourself there. You can certainly be prepared to not give up. So if the next decision that you make, you feel like, this is part of a battle and that's why it's hard to make the decision, you can be tenacious. This is not something that you should walk away from. This is something that you should move into, and you know that you can go forward. And you can bring about great outcomes, great material outcomes and so forth. But you have an inner critic that is like off the charts, pile 3. And I think it is a kind of like the negative side of a really, really smart mind. You have a very, very smart mind, but it's working against you at the moment. You're coming up with all the reasons why not to do something. Like, you would be a brilliant barrister or something like that. Some of you may be in the law. You would be brilliant at that, or a brilliant person in a debate or something like that. But the problem is that you're using it against yourself at the moment, and it's affecting your self-esteem. So I think that she is saying you can know that you have the intellectual tenacity to whatever comes of the decision you make, to move forward. And there is great opportunity to build wealth and security and all of that kind of thing. And if this is about, am I ready to be a leader and am I able to do it, and you've seen some really bad role models, you've actually got a really strong sense of ethics and a strong sense of material outcomes. So certainly it would be a big yes to do that, but you have to have the faith in yourself. The other thing that I think she's saying here, taking into account that, we've gone to the Oracle of Delphi, so we've gone to sort of Greek wisdom, is the actual people that are being portrayed in some of this. And this is Midas. So I think she is saying that there is something here about the implications of making choices, because of course Midas, everything he touched turned to gold, which seemed fine at first, but then he couldn't eat because if he picked up food it turned to gold. So I think she's saying use your intellect for the right steering through this, because you're likely to be very successful, but then you need to use your intellect to work out how to be a just ruler or a just successful person, or whatever it is. And this is where you can use this energy, but like second guessing it at the moment now is just slowing you down. So let's see what else we have from the Revolving Time Oracle for you. So we have determination. Yeah, stop wasting time. So she's saying, because this is the Queen of Wands. I mean, the Queen of Wands reversed here. She's saying, like, you should be the Queen of Wands. Like, you should be very self-actualized. Like, yes, like, don't second guess yourself all the time. You will be able to navigate whatever this is. I think it's a complex situation, as I say, a bit of a wicked problem. If you think about Midas, that is a bit of a wicked problem. If you have the capacity to manifest to the degree that everything turns to gold, but then you can't eat, that is a wicked problem. So I do think that most of you are involved in something like this, but she is saying have faith in yourself and be determined. Yeah, and like allow this fire energy out and allow the passion of what you do. Yes, stop wasting time. She's frustrated with you, but only because there's so much that you could do, pile 3. And empathy. This is the Page of Cups. So this is becoming very clear on what you love and what matters to your heart. So I think she's saying that's part of the way you can work this through. You can work that out, because we didn't see the heart represented there. We're not even seeing the heart represented here. So she is saying let the heart in a bit, describe and work out what you want heart-wise. Spring season may be an important time for really moving forward with something that matters to your heart. And again, it's saying yes, but she is saying you do also need to look at the emotional impact on this. You tend not to. And it feels very much like you're in a position where the decisions that you make have some heft and some impact on others, and it's almost as though you feel it has to be very material and very action oriented. It feels very much like a leadership sort of thing, but in a complex environment. So given that, let's see what you can't influence, because I think for you there might be a lot which, at best, knowing about it, you can navigate, but if they're, like big picture issues, other people's sort of competitive stuff within it, whatever it is, what can't you influence about this? Because it may be what's stopping you from making the decision, being aware of this. Page of Swords reversed. Four of Swords reversed. Three of Cups. The Fool. The Devil reversed. Okay. So I think the first thing around this is you almost want perfect, because you're in your mind, and I know this because I'm like this, so it's not a criticism. You want like perfect information to make a decision. You're not going to get that. And I do actually have like a saying that life is making decisions with imperfect information. It's just, a thing of life that's frustrating if you live in your head like I do. So I understand the energy, but you're not going to get all the information, and some of the information you get is not going to be reliable with the Page of Swords reversed. And you're not going to really be able to determine what other people would celebrate. Like, you can lead and you can make decisions, but how they're going to respond to it and how open they become as a result of it, you don't have control over that. There's also something very big starting. Like, there's a bigger thing around this starting, and it is about evolution, revolution, breaking down barriers and so forth. So I think you have a scent in the air of major change around this, and you can't, there's a bigger issue. This is something about this is caught up in something bigger. So if you were making a decision in a workplace, there's what you can influence in your sphere of influence, and I think your sphere of influence is significant, but there might be what's happening in the industry or what's happening in the world. Like, I do feel this group, there's a very material side to this and a political or social side to it, and there are big shifts, big changes coming, and what people would celebrate or how they wanted to respond to it, because you might think, why would you want to go on that journey? But that's happening on a kind of a bigger level, spiritually and materially and socially. So you can't stop that. There is a move towards a liberation or looking at and fighting anything that like limits others, but it's not a clear environment, and you're not going to get, not everybody around you is honest, I have to say, but nevertheless, this is why it's like you've got to have faith in yourself, have some empathy for the amount of change that's going on, but believe in yourself, because you can find your way through. Don't let this paralyze you. So let's get the revolving time oracle advice around this as well. Independence. Well, that makes sense. This is the Queen of Swords. So you've got the King of Swords and the Queen of Swords. You're very, very intelligent. And it is through your understanding and your strategy that you will be able to get that sort of sense of being able to make a decision and almost not be that worried about what's going on here. Just use it as some of the information. It says time to clarify and seek within. Yeah, because you're not necessarily around honest people or an honest situation. Or if it's not deliberately dishonest, it's not clear. And your mind doesn't know right up here what the outcomes of things are going to be. But going within and being independent and believing in yourself and knowing really your mind is your sort of like ace up your sleeve, I think that will help you. And it says maybe, yeah, because like there's stuff you're not going to know, like this is, I actually think also what it's saying is that she's saying make the decisions that you can influence and that make you feel that you're on the right path and you're doing the right thing sort of by your heart, and have faith in that, because there's bigger things at play here that you're not necessarily going to be able to influence as much as you would like. But if you are independent of that, that's the way to do it. Like maybe there'll be choices that come along in this that you can influence, but at the moment you've got to focus on what you can. And energy. So this is the Knight of Wands. So again, it's going back to like taking a decision, making an action, doing something, even if you can't know what's going to happen. See, the risk around both the Knight of Wands and the Knight of Swords is they often go in and act before they have all the information, before they think. And that often is a thing that can be an issue. But here, this is actually what's necessary. Because if you sit here worrying about everything that's happening on a macro level, you'll just stay stuck. It's like, just do something within the sphere of your influence. Yes, time is moving quickly. You just need to make a decision, because otherwise it's almost as though the decision is taken out of your hands and someone else takes over. So you're actually the right person for this, because you have that kind of intellectual clarity and so forth. And even the fact that you doubt and you question makes you the right person for this, pile 3. Because this feels like it's leadership. It feels like it's something to do with social, economic, job change, something like that. And the person who is able to question themselves is the person who's best suited to being the leader. But on the other hand, if you don't do that, if you go too much into self-doubt, someone else who's doesn't have your scruples would move even in and take over. So this feels pretty big. So let's get a little bit more advice, a little bit of support from a spirit team. So we're going to start with a couple of divine feminine, then we'll have some archangel or celestial energies, and also a power animal for you. So around the divine feminine, to get you into your Queen of Wands, and this is not about gender, but to get you into that self-actualized, fiery, ready to do something self, we have the priestess, the journey, initiation, blessing. Yeah, you are the one. You're the one for this. This is a calling, actually. So stop, why she's feeling frustrated. Stop doubting yourself. You really are connected. This is saying you're powerful. You are part of your spirit team, your own way of looking at things. And Solus Minerva, life, nourishment, water. This is getting back into the heart. So I do think for most of you, you're in a situation that isn't really about the heart, but getting back to the heart is actually going to help you make the decisions and have the faith that you need. Because this situation is political and complex and messy, and there isn't enough intellectual information, so the intellectual side of you gets a bit starved. But going into the heart and to the flow of things and what nourishes you and others is kind of the way to make this decision. Then we have, from the Archangel or Celestial realms, we have Archangel Metatron. Well, there you go. It's a heavy hitter. Spiritual power, esoteric wisdom, sacred geometry. He's the scribe. This is writing the thing, like it's actually that makes a lot of sense. Like creatively, sometimes what can happen is that you get so sort of, if you say writing a novel, for instance, you get so sort of like, well, what decisions do I make right at the beginning? And you can't make the decision, so you don't write the thing. But if you actually just write the thing and then you edit and you bring it all together, you'll find that a lot of it was there, that it was all, you just had to unlock it. So I think the Archangel Metatron is here to unlock that for you and to bring you back that sense that you're on the right track, because you're feeling like you don't even know what track you're on. And Goddess Gaia, Mother Nature, the provider, the elements. So there's something that you're meant to bring into being. This is like the Midas sort of thing. You are meant to manifest something. And it has some sort of impact. So many of you may be sort of social justice people or environmental people or political people. There's sort of this has an impact on others, and on the future. This is why right at the beginning I kind of got drawn to that infinity symbol. There's something very big about what appears to be a small decision. But equally, she's saying take the small decision, because you've got the capacity to see this through. You can control that, and you can move with it, you can flow with it. So a power animal for you also. Chameleon, change. Yeah, you can be a chameleon. Actually, that's a really brilliant power animal for you, because it's like make a decision, because you can always change, you can always move in complex environments, you can be what you need to be and then move into another environment and be something else. There is a sort of sense of finding a way through something complex and having the confidence that you can do it. So that's really powerful. So let's see some signs, sort of synchronicities and signs that will help you know that you've probably made that first decision and you're starting to be on the track that you need to be on. White light, so very much connected to Metatron, to the higher realms. You may dream of like angels, white light. You might read about white light meditations, all that kind of thing. That's definitely a sign that you're heading in the right direction, that it's illuminated. And juggler, oh yeah, that's what you're going to feel like. This is why being a chameleon, making small decisions, letting them build, juggling a number of things, there's something very complex about this. So allow that that's the case. And if you sort of feel that way, or you envisage yourself doing that way, or you see somebody juggling or whatever, this is all a sign that you've got it under control. Have faith, just like this person, they've got it all under control, all the complex issues. And they're dealing with one at a time as they come in and out of their hands. Okay, let's also get you some celestial advice through either numbers and numerology and sacred geometry or through astrology. 5. Yeah, there's conflict around you. There's no way of dealing with it, but you are able to. You remember the 5 of Swords reversed? You are able to see your way through this. But I think there's inner conflict and there's external conflict, and it's just the nature of the thing. But it's not as big as it appears. 5 in terms of conflict is not as big as it appears. Waxing gibbous moon. So the waxing gibbous moon is all about clarifying your goals and pushing through blocks. So yeah. This is like, what's your long-term goal? What do you want to do? Make your decision. Just saying it over and over, pile 3. And South Node, North Node. Yeah, this is karmic. This is about your life path. And so it's moving away from what isn't working, moving towards what's your North Node. Like if you know where your North Node is in your chart, the house that it's in and the sign that it's in tells you a lot about where you're going. So for argument's sake, if you had it in a Taurus in the 6th house, then you are heading towards bringing into being in a very kind of environmental, the good life and everything, how you serve others. It's like if you know those sort of things, you can potentially work out what this is, because that could be the guiding light. That could be the star energy to guide you towards the choice. As long as you're heading always towards that North Node, then you'll navigate it fine. Also to help you, I'm going to use the Ethereal Orbs deck to get either fixed stars or mansions of the moon from Vedic astrology for some other messages from the oracle for you. So firstly, you have Kalda Hakbiar, faith and expansion. Yeah, water your wisdom with integrity. So your vision grows and inspires others to mirror you. So you could potentially impact others by walking the walk. And and walking the talk. Like there's something in that. And Algarth, hostility and enmity. Do not allow your ego to blind your soul. Offer benevolence to those who despise you. So you are going to be dealing with people who are not on the same path. It's inevitable that this, if you've come to the right reading, pile 3, there are people who are on a different path to you. People who want different things. There is some degree of conflict. But if you keep faith and you walk the talk, I think you're going to beat that. I think this is people who don't, people who are not honest, and they will show themselves up in this environment in one form or another. So to finish off, let's get a couple of areas that the Delphi thinks that you have magic that you can use to navigate this complex situation. Mediumship. Okay, so you may well be able to connect to past loved ones or sort of elemental energies and so forth in spirit. So pay attention to the information that you get that way. You are the priestess, so that makes sense. And praise. Yeah, this is getting into that phase of gratitude, of connection, of the priestess thing. All of that is going to help empower you. It gets you back to that concept of being the Queen of Wands, of being confident in yourself. So gratitude and seeing where things have worked helps you understand your own power. Mediumship connects you to the upper realms and to be able to, with Metatron, write your own story. But if all else fails, I think the answer, and she was kind of saying it right from the beginning, might be in something as simple as, using a pendulum or getting a coin and having heads and tails mean yes and no or something. Like, just if all else fails, just make the first decision and then calibrate from there. Because this is a complex thing, but you're the right person for it, pile 3. So, and it's part of your karma, it's part of your destiny. So I hope that that's helpful. I hope you enjoyed the reading. If so, please like the video and subscribe. If you care to share in the comments, I'd love to hear. Otherwise, I hope to see you in future readings.